It's time again for another Premier League video. So we start off looking at the standings. As you can see, Liverpool smashing it. 12 played, 10 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss. City, 3 losses in a row. It's their only 3 losses of the season as well. So really bad form from City, and they're 8 points behind Liverpool. Then we take a look. Chelsea, Arsenal, Brighton, all on 22 points. 1 point behind Man City. And Brighton play first. So, Friday night, Brighton play against Southampton. And if Brighton get the win, they will go to second in the league. Which, although it might not last, City have got Liverpool. So, there's a tough one there. Meaning, Chelsea got Villa as well. So, there is a chance that maybe Brighton end the weekend in the top 3. Which would be brilliant for them, but yeah, there's some interesting fixtures this weekend. And, well, my fantasy league, I'm really relying on João Pedro. I've triple captained him against Southampton. So hopefully it's a mad game and he scores 8 goals. But it's not going to happen. However, make sure to like and subscribe. And let's get into it. So, scroll down. Relegation battle. Wolves now out of the relegation zone. Unbeaten in 4 and 2 wins in a row. Puts them outside of their own goal difference. Ipswich, Palace and Southampton in the bottom 3. Leicester have sacked Steve Cooper, and it's came out today, quite recently today. This has been recorded as of about 7:30, so just before the Brighton game kicks off. Ruud van Nistelrooy, it looks like he's been appointed by Leicester, so big signing in there as the new manager going in. Interesting to see what will happen with that. We scroll down then. Brighton against Southampton is our first game. Brighton, clear favourites. Southampton not fancied, as you'd expect. For this one, I think I'm just going to go Brighton. It's tough because Brighton aren't a side that I tend to associate with clean sheets. They're quite gung-ho, so Southampton will probably get a goal. But Brighton like scoring, and in a game like this, I can't see them not scoring 3 or more. So I'm going to go 4-1 to Brighton. We move on. Brentford against Leicester. Now, this one is a bit tougher. So Leicester have just got rid of Steve Cooper, as I said. Van Nistelrooy won't be in yet, so it'll be assistant manager taking over. But there's always a bit of a bounce. Although, again, Leicester, Steve Cooper was kind of doing his job. They weren't in the bottom 3 when he was sacked. Well, still not, but it does seem a bit harsh on him. But I have seen a lot of Leicester fans saying they should be capable of more. They aren't playing very well. The style of football is awful. So fair enough. I don't watch them week in, week out. Leicester fans do, and if they weren't happy, I can't blame them. Van Nistelrooy will be exciting, but that's not going to affect this. And Brentford, we just need to take another look at this because it's ridiculous. Home form, Brentford, top of the table. Scored 18, conceded 11, played 6, lost none, and it's 5 wins and a draw at home. So, yeah, Brentford are brilliant at home. Away from home, however, Brentford are, not joint, but they're 19th, 1 point, which was their last game. They picked up a draw, so, yeah. Strange from Brentford. Leicester are 16th on away form, so that's not going to affect too much. I was tempted to go for the draw because Leicester have changed manager, but I just think Brentford's home record is so good, and I think they average 3 goals scored at home, was it? They scored 18, haven't they? Yeah. So 3 goals per game on average scored and nearly 2 conceded, which makes me think Brentford will win this game. I'm going to go for it. 3-2. On to the next. Palace Newcastle. Now, Alexander Isak let me down on the weekend. Had him in my team. I think he had 5 or 6 shots, none on target. Obviously no goals, so very disappointed with that. It was the first week I put him in because he was in some good form. Newcastle are just one of those sides. If we go back to the standings, they just don't do much. Nothing happens in Newcastle's games. Look, 12 played, 13 scored, 13 conceded. So it's pretty quiet in a Newcastle game most of the time. Similar to Man U, they're also 13-13. So at least Brentford, they've got 0 goal difference, but it's 22 scored, 22 conceded. So it's mental. Yeah, Newcastle not doing much. Palace, 19th, poor start, 8 points. But they're only a point from safety. I think Palace will get something here as well, being the home side. So I'm going to go 1-1 in Palace Newcastle. And we'll carry on. Forest Ipswich. These two at the start of the season you'd have thought would be near the bottom in a bit of a relegation fight. You know, this would be a 6-pointer. But Forest are sitting 7th in the table. 19 points from 12 games. They have lost their last 2. But from memory, one was against Arsenal. And I can't remember the one before that. Apologies, but yeah, Arsenal turned up, so it's not a game you'd expect them to win. Was the other? Was it maybe Brighton that beat Forest? I'm not sure. However, they've had a very good start to the season, haven't they? And you know their opponents here, Ipswich, not so good, but the problem is they've only won 1, but they've drawn 6 and lost 5, so they're not losing. You know, they've lost less than half their games. They just can't convert draws to wins. They are unbeaten in 3. It's a tough one. I'm going to go for the 1-0 Forest, but I'm not very confident about that at all. I think that could go either way. Even though Ipswich are so low, they could just turn it on. They've got the quality. Wolves Bournemouth next. And, well, looking at the odds, it looks pretty evenly split. I mean, obviously it's not completely evenly split. Bournemouth are slight favourites, but this will be, I think, a great game. It'll probably be a 0-0 now, but I've got a feeling there'll be goals in this one. Wolves obviously won 2 in a row. They were brilliant against Fulham last weekend. I think it was 4-1 in the end, wasn't it? They scored a late goal again. Matheus Cunha is just on fire. Another player I've just put in my team. And I mean, I think Wolves will escape. They can't really defend, but it doesn't matter when they've got a player like Matheus Cunha. They've got Strand Larsen up front as well, who's been good for them. Guedes comes off the bench and he's featuring now. They've got so many good attacking players, and they've got a very good midfield with João Gomez especially in there. So their defence lets them down, but I don't think they're going to get relegated. I did actually say this a few weeks ago before they'd won any games. Just before the Southampton game, I said Wolves won't get relegated. And, I mean, obviously they're only above the relegation zone on goal difference, but they will win 10 games this season, at least. And that's going to put them to 33 points. That'll be enough for safety. So, Wolves good, even though they're low. Bournemouth, they've lost 2 in a row, but goals again I seem to see when Bournemouth play. I think this will be a cracker, and I'm going to go for the home side to get a 3rd win in a row after getting none for the rest of the season. So 3-2 to Wolves. On to West Ham against Arsenal. Expecting Arsenal to win. They're obviously in good form. We look at what they've done previously. West Ham, they beat Newcastle 2-0, but a draw with Everton, battered by Forest, beat Man United, lost to Tottenham. Weird start to season, but not great under Lopetegui. Arsenal beat Sporting 5-1 in the Champions League away. I think that's Sporting's first loss at home in a year, something like that. Beat Forest 3-0 last weekend. Drew with Chelsea, which again is a good point. So they seem to have turned a corner. And I think now they're going to start applying pressure, because Man City aren't going to do it. I really don't think City will be the team to do it this season. Bold prediction, I don't think City get Champions League. If you look at previous seasons, where they've struggled is whenever Rodri isn't playing. He's just won the Ballon d'Or. He is officially the best player in the world, and City just can't cope without him. They bought Calvin Phillips because they needed a backup because Fernandinho retired or left. But then, yeah, it didn't work out. And now whenever Rodri's not there, they've got Rico Lewis, Gundogan, Kovacic obviously injured as well. So it's Rico Lewis and Gundogan or, someone like that. And it's just not near the level. They can't control games. They were 3-0 up against Feyenoord in the Champions League in the week and drew 3-3. Don't think City get top 4. I think it'll be Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea and somebody else. So, yeah, not high on City at the moment at all. And if they get an injury to Haaland, they're a mid-table side probably, so because he does everything in attack for them. However, West Ham not great. Arsenal will kick on now. So, because of that, I'm going to go for Arsenal to win it 2-1. We move on to Chelsea Villa. This one, now Chelsea obviously in the top 4, good form. They've just they drew with Man United, drew with Arsenal, beat Leicester. They're up in the top 4. We look at Villa. Yes, they drew with Juventus, but before that, it was a draw with Palace. They lost to Liverpool. They lost to Club Brugge. Lost to Spurs. Lost to Palace. Drew with Bournemouth. So, not great from Villa recently. There's a bit of a conundrum that needs solving, and I think Chelsea will capitalise on that. So, we'll go Chelsea to win 2-1 in that one. And on to Man United v Everton. Now, again, Man United under Amorim should win this quite comfortably, but they struggled last week against Ipswich. I think first league game at Old Trafford for Amorim, I can see a win. I think the football will be great. I don't think the scoreline will be massively flattering to Man United, but I think they'll play better than the scoreline. I'm going to go Man United to win this 2-1. We'll move on to Spurs Fulham. Whenever Spurs play, they are the definition of that Gattuso quote. Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit. That is Spurs in a nutshell. They're so good to watch when they're on it, but they will just throw out stupid results. They drew with Roma in the week, and Roma were a great side, but they are in a massive redevelopment phase at the moment over in Serie A. Roma have been poor for a while, and Spurs really struggled against them. They should have won, and they lost to Palace a little bit earlier in the season. They obviously did they lose to Ipswich? I can't remember if they lost or drew. They lost, didn't they? Sorry, it caught me by surprise, but yeah, they lost to Ipswich 2-1, and then they went and beat City 4-0 away. That's just what you get with Spurs. It is typical Spurs. So, tough to call. Fulham, good form for the most part of the season. Hit a little bit of a rough patch now. Obviously, that 4-1 loss to Wolves is not something they'll want to see. But if we look at the table, they're sitting in 9th. 17 scored, 17 conceded in 12. They're doing fine, Fulham. They're having their goal really is to not be in a relegation battle now because they've been here for a few seasons. You kind of cement your place as a mid-table side. That's Fulham's current goal, and they're doing a good job of it. So, this game is tough. I mean, Spurs, they've scored 27, conceded 13, so that makes them the highest scorers in the league, and only Arsenal and Liverpool have conceded less than them. However, they're sitting in 6th on 19 points and they're 12 points off Liverpool at the top. Spurs' underlying numbers are ridiculous, but they just throw out random results. When they win, it's heavy, and when they lose, it's a stupid 1-0 that they really should be winning. What are we going to get here? Which Spurs are we going to get? I think it's going to be a tight 2-2 draw. Do I? There'll be goals and both teams will score. But either Spurs will win or I'll stick with my 2-2 draw. Why not? Final game, Liverpool City. In other seasons, this has seemed like a difficult one to call. But at the moment, I know it's first versus second, but City just look shocking. Without Rodri, they've got other injuries, but Rodri's the main one. He makes them tick, and he's not there, and you can just see how much they're struggling without him. Liverpool play them off the park. Only a 2-1 win, but still a win. And, I mean, they are then cemented as heavy title favourites. So, yeah, Liverpool to win this 2-1. City's defence just can't cope without Rodri in front of them. They look absolutely awful at the back. So, yeah, Liverpool to win 2-1. 34 points from 13 games that would be, which is just ridiculous. They've only dropped 5 points 13 games in. Yeah, we'll go for that. Those are my predictions. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.